Do good work is not a label, but a way of living. It is the constant and diligent effort to achieve a new level of excellence in one's own life. It is the hidden inner beauty behind the struggle to achieve excellence. It's not perfect, but imperfect. It is the effort, discipline, and focus that often goes unnoticed. The goal of Do Good Work is to highlight that drive. The guests I have on this show emulate this drive in their own special way. You'll be able to apply new ideas into your own life by learning from them. We will also have one-on-one episodes with me where we'll dive into my own experience with entrepreneurship and leadership. Every episode is designed to provide you with ideas that you can apply and grow in excellence in all areas of your life, business, and career.
Today on the show, we have Garrett Jackson. He's the founder of Jackson Media, which does performance marketing for startups. He's a native-born Californian, welcome, but he moved to Germany in 2011. He has a passion for working with startups due to their fresh energy and the vibes that they give out. And he's on the mission to help startup owners get exposure to the right people and their ideal customers. Garrett, thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This is one of the few times where I'm being interviewed. So.
It's all good, man. I really want to highlight specifically. So you moved to Germany, and a lot of the sales strategies that you've used for your business and for your clients, how have they shifted and transformed as you move to a new culture, a new environment, not just digitally? Like, I have calls all over the world, right? But you actually did it physically. How did that shift change your workflow?
Yeah, it changed my workflow in a way. Like I had to learn kind of what you can do here culturally, what's culturally not accepted, what is accepted, and you kind of adapt your sales strategy to wherever you're at. And that was kind of something that I learned through trial and error mostly. It was hard at first, but after a while you learn, okay, this is what I could take from the American side, this is what I could take from the German side, put it together, and still have a really good sales strategy.
So I'm really curious, when you have that transition, because it's been some time now, what would be, I guess, your top 3 to 5 different tips or steps that you took to refine your approach from what you were used to what works today in a different country?
Yeah, so I would say what's big, like in the States, we do a lot of follow-up emails, we're a little bit more forthcoming when it comes to like phone call sales and things like that. When you're in Germany, I think it's very good. You should keep the confidence and everything, but you should be a little bit more careful about when it comes to follow-up emails. You need to make sure that when you are following up with somebody that you give them value each time. So not just like hey, I just wanted to check if you got my email. You have to personalize and say, hey, I wanted to check if you got my email. I sent you, for example, in online marketing. I sent you, for example, I'm going to send you in this email the top 5 keywords that you should look for applying to your business or bidding on, you're doing your advertising with. So every time that you follow up, you need to add value. Also, given the fact that when it comes to cold email, the laws are completely different here. Cold email is actually banned. So that's also a whole strategy in itself. What I found that works is, since I'm anyways let's say on a freelance level, is I send a job application as a freelancer with my marketing portfolio all in a PDF. So that kind of, I don't get in trouble for sending a cold email because I'm actually applying for, let's say, an initiative. They call it initiative jobs or initiative. So I apply as an initiative. Out of initiative, I applied for a certain job. And then it sends my whole CV. They see my CV, and they also see like different projects I've worked on and the outcome of those projects. So it's basically switching the whole strategy around to still kind of be able to quote unquote cold email people, but it's just like a border. You have to be careful.
And have you utilized LinkedIn to overcome some of those email hurdles?
Yes, absolutely. I use LinkedIn. That's my number one thing. I was sorry I didn't get to that. I meant to say LinkedIn. I have Sales Navigator, which is absolutely necessary, I think, if you want to reach out to CEOs or people you want to at least get inside of a certain network. You have to go on LinkedIn. And yeah, when you get in LinkedIn, you kind of overstep those loopholes. Definitely.
Yeah, so I think breaking it down is when you're stepping into a new environment, a new culture, a new country, is looking at what are the laws, of course, and also what's culturally acceptable, what's culturally not acceptable. Notice how we had to personalize every single email specifically to that business's current needs, which I think you should be doing anyways in today's marketing age. I mean, I know HubSpot talk a lot about the hyper personalization. There's a lot of companies out there that create a lot of that are created just for personalization. If it's video, if it's text, if it's written letters done for you. So I like the fact that you're able to be able to adapt, but also find out what works specifically and how you're able to kind of reposition yourself as opposed to hire my company or hire my firm to be like more like you're hiring me as a person, as a freelancer to help you with your business and your startup, which I think is pretty interesting. So those are more for like the prospecting, lead generation stages. What are some of the things that you've been able to develop as you grow in the sales cycle? Well, how have you seen the sales cycle shift or change, or how have you enhanced your approach as you've worked in a different culture?
Yeah, I noticed, I would say patience is the number one thing. Here, things sometimes take a little bit longer. It's not always a bad thing, but people like to, for example, if I don't get a reply right away, I know it's because they're Googling my name. They want to check out everything about me, make sure I'm legit. So decisions and stuff usually take longer. So you should always see it at like when you get an answer back. For example, you send out the initial email and says, or someone says, yeah, let me get back to you. They respond. You should already be happy that they responded. That's the first hurdle. But you have to give it time. It's like buying a stock. You have to wait for that stock to rise. It's the same exact thing when you do sales outreach. You're waiting for that. You're waiting for that answer to come back. And so, yeah, that's the biggest thing is patience. Usually in the States, I would get answers back sometimes right away, like, yeah, let's plan a meeting or let's do this. So it's really patience you need to have. And yeah, that's the thing that I've had to adjust with. So you have to also make sure that you have plenty of people in the pipeline as well. So the amount of people that you reach out to, like, for example, if you reach out to 10 people in the States, you need to reach out to 30 people here.
That's interesting, and I want to break down a little bit in the beginning as well. Patience, I think, is one of the number one key strategies for success and for successful leaders. And I think it's very underutilized because we want results now, we want results always. But patience, I think, for the long-term gain is key. And I think one of the things that also that I've seen work well, and it could translate well, and especially when you're using more, it's not account-based selling, but it is very much like personalized one-on-one high touch selling, is doing a little bit offline, seeing if you can send a gift in the mail, a postcard, make yourself highlightable. Obviously right now we're with the whole situation, we're not going to show up in person just yet. But I know that having some sort of gift in the mail or something that's relevant to what you're solving, what they need in the interim time of waiting could shorten that cycle and allow you to be a select candidate from others. And it's interesting. So when you mentioned the number of leads in the pipeline, we talked to 20 to 30. Is that just is that a calculation that you've come up with, or were you able to come up with specific numbers in regards to having at least 1.5 more than typical sales leads here in the States?
Okay, well, let me go back to what you said too about firstly sending gifts in the mail. That is something you should definitely do here too. Also, even if, let's say, the person says, hey, we don't need you just yet, you should still send a gift probably 2 months later to say, hey, I just wanted to let you know. It goes back to the thing, sending something of value, following up with value, right? You send them a gift, maybe also something that let's say you do a website audit, I don't know. You send that with them as a gift, so they keep you in mind. You want to nurture that relationship, so eventually they'll convert probably a little bit later, but at least they'll have you in mind, right? So when it comes to 20, 30 leads per day, that's for my industry because it goes back to personalization. I have to, when I go on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, for example, I don't just pick every single person out. It's really time consuming sometimes because I have to look through each company and see, can I imagine myself marketing this if it's a startup, can I imagine myself marketing this? Do I see, like, can I already imagine the potential customers? there's a lot of things at hand, and there's a lot of companies that I skip over and don't write at all because I don't know if that would be a fit. Also, you have to think there's another thing when it comes to advertising. You have to think, is this allowed by Facebook's terms and conditions to advertise? So there's a lot of factors. So the reason why I say 20, 30 is that's how many I can reach a day, let's say, with a personal email. Of course, if I would be doing mass mailings, I'd probably be reaching 100, 200, but the amount of turnover would be much lower than compared if I, do these 20, 30 leads a day.
That's very smart. And then when it comes to your perspective, like being an American and growing up in California, has that have affected in the way that you're perceived in your business in a good or a bad way, highlighting or taking away, credibility, or how have you seen that shift or that perspective as you worked in a new environment?
Yeah, I would say it's a mixed reaction to that. I've had a mixed reaction to that. A lot of people say, "Wow, cool! You're from California. Why did you come here?" And also when it comes to marketing, people take it a lot more seriously because they have this thing in their head still that Americans are a lot more further when it comes to marketing, which is true. I see a lot of trends trickle over into Germany a lot later when they're already done. Like, for example, the webinars, that's something that people from the States are still kind of trickling. People are still doing it, but now they're coming up with a new idea. And here in Germany now, webinars are huge. People are doing webinars. So
what would you say maybe 2 to 3? I mean, for your industry and then the digital marketing space, the lag time is what, 2-3 years?
Yeah, I would say about that. Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty interesting because I remember, so I'm from Mexico and my family down there, like when, here in San Diego. So when like the green trend of going organic, eco-friendly, that started about, I want to say 2007 maybe, started hitting big, and we were early adopters to that here. But of course, Californians, right? But it hits, I think, my family in Mexico probably maybe 5 years later. So the gap between trends, obviously with technology, I've seen the gap shorten from like 8 to 5 years to 5 to maybe 3 years. But it's kind of interesting how you're able to see that as well when it comes to marketing tactics or strategies in different countries.
Yeah, I mean, it could work for you or against you. It works for you in a way because they think like, wow, I didn't think about that. You're coming with stuff that we haven't even thought about yet. But it could work against you because sometimes they don't understand it or they don't take it seriously. A perfect example is Google call ads. Everybody uses Google call ads in the States that wants to generate like phone call leads. But when you bring that up here, they're like, Google call ads? I never really thought about that before. So it works for you if the person understands marketing and they see, the value in that, but it could work against you if they don't understand marketing and they don't know the value of that. So it works for and against you to be ahead of these trends, let's say it like that.
And that's pretty interesting as well, because you're kind of selling new adopters to become new adopters as opposed to those who are you're pretty much pushing people over the chasm where it hasn't happened yet, which is no easy feat. But when it comes, so we talked about the prospecting, we talked about the following up with value, we talked about the sales process. What are some other things that you've seen in regards to generating business as you continue to grow your business in Germany? Obviously businesses can grow anywhere, but I'm just really curious to know from your perspective, what are the next steps? What are the things that you're seeing?
Well, okay, with growth, we can already talk about kind of behavior. And the thing I noticed the most is people here do have a big separation of work-life balance. So if I'm working 12 or 13 hours, it's not the norm, let's say like this. I mean, there are a lot of entrepreneurs that do that, but it's not the norm. And also when it comes to sales, a lot of them aren't hitting those high numbers because they want to separate work-life balance. And I find that's a good thing too. I don't hate on that. So it's also for me, I have to find some sort of balance as far as what's too much and what's not enough. And that's a big thing a cultural thing that I've had to learn. Like for example, things here are closed on Sundays. Saturdays, you can hardly reach anybody. So that's another thing I've had to incorporate into my sales prospecting too, is that I send out emails on Tuesdays, for example, because I know Monday's going to be, their inbox is going to be full. I've had bad results on Monday that nobody reads my emails on Monday because it's full from Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And also I only do my prospecting on Friday from 9 till 12. After that, I know that I don't need to worry about sending anything because nobody's going to be in the office anyways.
It's pretty interesting because it's pretty good to have work-life balance, but I know as entrepreneurs that kind of bleeds over. Like I know for when I got started early on as well, like I was doing good as in work, career, but also the startup on top of that, as well as family, which was important. So my health suffered. Like my health wasn't at its peak, right? Let's put it that way. So I know that on the flip side, adjusting to an environment where work-life balance is more favored and business, like you mentioned, sales might be like, oh, we'll do that, or we'll get to that. More of a relaxed approach and having to cater your marketing to that. How has that affected in regards to your own work-life balance?
All right. Well, first of all, let me say, you still look good for a guy who's an entrepreneur. Respect. Me, for example, I lost my hairline. So at least you got a hairline, right? I to be honest, it's still hard because I think too, like there was a couple of years where I was going really hard on another business that I was trying to set up and failed, and I missed out on so much time with my daughter. She was young. So now I am a bit more consequent about finding some more time, but even then it's limited. But let me say it like this. I've given more time to my family now, but for that, I'm very still selfish with my time when it comes to other people. So when people prospect me on LinkedIn, for example, I value everybody's time. That's the thing when it comes to sales too, that a lot of people leave out, is that nobody cares what you have to say. You have to show value for this person to care what you have to say, and you have to treat their time as valuable. So the fact that they even respond, you should still be thankful, right? So that's the first thing. And so when people pitch me on LinkedIn, like I had a guy today, he pitched me if I needed digital marketing services, and I'm like, dude, I am a digital marketer. So you didn't read my profile. Yeah, like he didn't even take the time to read my profile. Like if you can't invest 2 minutes, then obviously my time is not valuable to you, right? You think I'm entitled to answer you. And that's the thing, is what's made a huge difference is I know what it's like to value time. I value everybody's time. And I've noticed that comes back to me. Like also when I reach out to CEOs email, I say, hey, one of my favorite lines is, hey, I'm not going to send you a follow-up email, let's say over LinkedIn, but I'm not going to send you, I'll leave it up to you to reach out to me, but that doesn't mean that I don't look forward to hearing from you. Because I know that these guys are busy. They have a lot of things to do. And so I value time in general, but I've been selfish. But for that, when I reach out myself to other people, I make sure that I keep that in mind. And a lot of people who are doing outreach and sales on LinkedIn, you have to keep that in mind. You need to personalize things. People say all the time, yeah, but that takes too much work. Okay, it depends on your industry too, of course. But if you don't even want to take that time and you're saying like an individual message and not a bot, to look over my profile, then you don't have to wonder why your response rate is not coming back. And also just looking over someone's profile and writing a personalized message is a sign of respect, Or even, let's say back in the States, for example, when I did cold email messaging, of course, you can't personalize every single one, but I tried, like, for example, if I would be just writing lawyers in a certain state, then I make sure that somehow that email sounded as personal as possible. So we keep touching on, of course, personalization, but it branches into these all different things. And the main thing is, like I said, you show somebody you value their time, and you show them that you respect them from that, and you usually get that back. Like the fact that also sometimes I have people that say, thank you for reaching out to me, but we don't need that at the moment. I think that's a good accomplishment.
Because again, they thanked you for the way that you reached out. I mean, that can be a potential, obviously, in the potential follow-up life cycle lead. But I think that was a key point that even I haven't heard a lot in other sales training, is the value of other people's time. And of course, we hear your own time management, your own team management, and making sure that your calendar isn't always available to everyone, and making sure that you can focus on 80-20 items. but also
Mhm.
when it comes to your prospects' mind and just keeping that top of mind. Like when I get messages over LinkedIn or even cold emails sometimes, like, hey, do you have 15 minutes? Like for what? And why am I getting
Yeah.
15 minutes? Right.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that perspective, especially when it comes to, a more relaxed environment when it comes to sales and culture, and then when it comes to,
Mhm.
the digital marketing trends and how you're able to adapt that into your sales process. But Garrett, for our listeners here, where is the best way for people to go to thank you for this episode and learn a little bit more about you?
If you would like to learn a little bit more about me, you can visit my LinkedIn. I think we'll post the link probably in the bio. If not, you can go to my website, but we're doing some rebranding at the moment, but it's JO minus Agentur, so AGENTUR.de. You can just save it to your favorites and come visit it in a couple weeks. Then everything will be finished with the rebranding. So those are my 2 points. And with LinkedIn, you can find me under Garrett Jackson. I pretty much accept everybody.
Awesome. Well, Garrett, thank you so much for being on, man.
Thank you. I appreciate the time, and it was really good to talk about these things. Thank you.